to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now, tonight, we'll be giving you highlights and a very interesting story on the President's tour in Kisii and in business. We will be telling you about the biggest Turkey and Kenya conference that is coming up. We will be having an interview with the WTI President, and in sports, we have all the action for you, including Omanyala's practice season. That and more coming up shortly, but first, let's have the highlights.
Ayes have 33 votes, the noes 0, abstentions 0. The ayes have it.
Cash in carbon. Senate passes a climate amendment bill to regulate carbon markets. A legal tussle looms after a National Assembly Watchdog Committee ejects Campbell Institute of Science and Technology Board, citing fraud. Cash-strapped Postal Corporation demands 2.9 billion shillings from state agencies for services rendered. Welcome back. Now, our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru, and would like to hear from you. Remember, you can send us your comments, and we will read some of those comments at the end of the bulletin. President William Ruto has urged the political class to rise above beyond political party interests that may hinder the country's development. Speaking at a meeting with a section of leaders from Kisii and Nyamira, the president said the leaders must unite in order to deliver services to the people.
After completing a 5-day development tour in Western Kenya, President William Ruto on Thursday held a meeting with Kisii and Nyamira leaders from both political divides at the Kakamega State Lodge. The president urged them to put aside their political differences and focus on empowering the people.
We all made commitments to the people of Kenya. And we have the opportunity now to deliver on the commitments we made to the people of Kenya, and we are better off delivering together.
The leaders drawn from the larger Gusii region handed the head of state a memorandum of understanding containing a list of ongoing and stalled development projects that they want to be implemented.
We are supporting you for the agenda, but for us coming together as a region, we are ready to make sure you realize your dream.
Wajumbe na leaders wa Nyamira wanasema wanataka SGR kuwa extended to Nyamira.
I would want to hope that this team, as these things are going on and as our politics is going on, we behave ourselves and make sure that we ask the presidency and the government to deliver for us in Kisii.
President Ruto also warned that all public officers facilitating corruption will face the law.
We have huge programs supported, for example, by development partners. But there are officers in government who have made those projects their private enterprises. That even an officer, when he moves from one place to another, he moves with a government project as if it is their own property. Those things, we will stop them.
Wale ambao wanapotea ni wale wafisadi. Kwa sababu haukutaja mtu hujasema wewe ndio mfisadi. Kwa hivyo wewe ukijua wewe ni mfisadi, hama Kenya. Kama utaki kuhama Kenya, ingia jela. Hiyo tunakusupport kabisa.
The head of state also adding that selfish interests were frustrating development projects in the country, saying the corrupt will no longer hide in courts with court orders.
There are people in our judicial system who are facilitating corruption by working with the corrupt. That is why certain cases go to certain judges, because they are part of the corruption enterprise and the corruption industry in Kenya. And I want to tell you, all these collaborators, we will deal with them firmly and decisively.
Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
Senate has adopted and approved the Climate Change Amendment Bill 2023 without amendments. The bill seeks to provide for the regulation of the carbon markets, and the senators hailed the bill, saying it stands to recognize efforts and benefit communities and private sectors that have been active in activities that reduce carbon in the air.
Communities and those active in greening the environment in combating climate change will now benefit from their efforts after the Senate passed the Climate Change Amendment Bill 2023. The bill seeks to provide a legal framework for the carbon market.
The regulatory framework that we are passing, Mr. Speaker, it shall be possible for communities that maintain or are leading actually in this carbon credit market to ensure that they enjoy the biggest benefit.
That regulation was not provided for in the Climate Change Act 2016, making communities lose out on the gains.
Watu wakijua kwamba kusimamia misitu yetu, kupanda miti, kuna faida ya kipesa na kwamba kuna register ambayo itawekwa, basi Bwana Spika, sheria hii itajenga hatua kubwa sana kusimamia mazingira yetu.
There are counted no less than 116 projects that are going on in the country. But the biggest question that people continue to ask themselves is, where is this actual money? Where is this project? Where is it in Migori? Where is it in Kericho? Where is it in Siaya? That I can identify this particular project, and so that my own people who are making their contribution can know.
If you move from Kakamega County, you go to Nandi County, Vihiga County, and Kericho County, the amount of good that these people have done this republic by protecting forests should be a record in history.
Carbon credits and carbon market allow communities and environmentalists to gain from companies responsible for carbon emissions.
You will see that there's a provision there that in every agreement for such projects, 40% of the aggregate earnings shall be reserved for the communities. So those of us who are asking where the communities were going to benefit then can see that the bill has provided for those.
One of the things that has been lacking is, Mr. Speaker, the issue of awareness, the issue of information dissemination on how carbon trading is going to be done in this country.
The bill also provides for environmental impact assessment for every carbon credit project.
Like, for instance, Mr. Speaker, there was a coal project which was coming to Lamu. If we had not gone to court and do the andamanos, as which is our constitutional right, today we would be suffering with the carbon and all this environmental destroying.
Some countries, Mr. Speaker, who are polluting the atmosphere, China, USA, and other countries, Mr. Speaker, they can now buy the carbon credits from those countries that have really helped in reduction of those gases, Mr. Speaker. And that will attract investment in this country, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, in fact, even we in the cities can actually benefit from carbon trading, because you should remember that even if you look at the definition of the carbon credits, it's not just about mechanisms that pull out the carbon from the air. It is also preventive measures to ensure that you actually prevent that carbon from getting in the air. And you will know that Nairobi carries a large number of the industries in
the bill now awaits to be assented into law by the President. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
And still on climate, the Pan-African Parliament has kicked off the process of developing a model law on climate change. Legislators drawn from different African countries continue to rally for tailor-made solutions to the climate change crisis, as well as climate justice and equity as a means to influence the climate change agenda in Africa.
Ahead of the Africa Climate Summit, scheduled to kick off on the 4th of September this year, African countries have been urged to honor their commitments to the campaign.
This position calls for ambitious and binding emission commitments from developed countries, adequate and predictable financial support for adaptation and mitigation actions in developing countries, technology transfer and capacity building and a comprehensive, inclusive framework for addressing loss and damage.
In the spirit of implementing recommendations made in the previous summit, the Pan-African Parliament says it has kicked off the process of developing a model law on climate change.
The committee responsible in the Pan-African Parliament has started the process of developing the model law, and hopefully it will be adopted very soon.
They also called for the amplification of voices of the vulnerable who are most affected by climate change.
Within the Kenyan context, we want this message to go to the lowest level possible. And I'm happy that the Senate and the Kenyan Parliament and the Kenyan government has approved the FLOCA program, which is about financing locally led climate actions. There's almost 1 billion shillings that the Senate approved to go to counties in the last allocation of revenue act that the Senate passed.
Key on the agenda is the call for climate justice and equity.
And there was a study that said that Africa sometimes sells a ton of carbon at probably $10, while in Europe you'll sell a ton of carbon at $700 or $800. So those disparities must be dealt with so that when Kenya takes carbon to the market, the same price that Europe gets in that market should prevail.
This comes as the renewed calls on big emitters of greenhouse gases to take responsibility for their actions. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
A legal tussle is looming after the National Assembly's Watchdog Committee ejected from office the Board of Trustees of Campbell Institute of Science and Technology, accusing them of fraud. The Public Investment Committee on Governance and Education visited the institute to investigate alleged irregular operations of the Board of Trustees.
Drama ensued at Campbell Institute of Science and Technology on Thursday.
The committee directs from now onwards that Campbell Institute of Science and Technology has nothing to do with the so-called trustees.
Members of the National Assembly Public Investment Committee on Governance and Education stormed the school to eject the Board of Trustees.
Please leave.
Chairman, sir, if you allow me, sir, very humbly.
Yes, in 2 minutes, madam.
Because even when you are condemned, you are given a chance to speak.
We heard you. You can't say you unheard. You still have opportunity to write to us.
The Watchdog Committee, led by Bumula MP Jack Wamboka, directed the members of the Board of Trustees be denied access to the institution.
The way I can see you, all of you, surprised and mesmerized and scared, is like the institution has come to a head. This country is moving on the right direction.
The MPs are accusing the Board of Trustees of irregularly obtaining a loan of 158 million shillings using the institute's land as collateral. Further, the lawmakers are concerned about the ownership documents of 200 acres of land originally owned by the institution, since only 70 acres have documentation.
We have not defrauded anyone. It was very unfair for this committee to throw us out and refuse to hear us. All we are crying for is for our side of the story, which is 52 years old, to be heard from the beginning up to now.
But in a rejoinder, the Board of Trustees, which has been running the institution together with the Board of Governors, insisted the ejection from office was illegal and will be seeking legal redress.
We need to go back there, so we'll use legal channels. We shall not behave like them. We shall use legal channels to get our rights vindicated.
The Parliamentary Committee has also fined the management of Campbell Institute of Science and Technology 500,000 shillings for failing to submit crucial documents as requested by the Auditor General. The National Assembly Watchdog Committee now awaits the management of Campbell Institute of Science and Technology to supply all documents regarding the ownership of the 200-acre farm. Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
The National Environment Management Authority and the National Police Service have reached an agreement to enforce environment laws jointly. NEMA will subsequently develop a framework to train the service on environmental laws, with the exercise kicking off in Nairobi County. The authority and the service will focus on the war against plastic carrier bags, waste disposal, open burning of tires and waste products, illegal constructions at night, noise pollution, and illegal discharge of effluent materials.
The joint partnership that was reached upon at the Department of Resource Survey will see the National Environment Management Authority and the National Police Service join forces in fighting environmental criminals in a bid to ensure citizens live in a clean and healthy environment. NEMA Director General Mamo says the authority regretted the rise in environment crimes in the wake of increased economic and social development in the country.
The issue is our attitude as citizens of this country towards our environment. Look at Kenyans. We like littering.
NEMA Board Chair Emilio Mugo lauded the partnership, saying it will give NEMA the teeth to bite culprits in environmental degradation.
Ask the Inspector General to consider creating a whole unit of environmental police units, so that it is not only here in the headquarters, but also in the field there, because matters of environment manifest themselves across the country.
The framework developed will focus on the war against plastic carrier bags, littering of waste, open burning of tires and waste products, illegal constructions at night, noise pollution and illegal discharge of wastewater and sewage. It will begin in Nairobi before moving to other areas of the country as NEMA seeks to ensure the country is environmentally friendly.
The authority therefore intends to invest in a robust public awareness campaign to urge for prompt reporting of environmental crimes, so that prompt action can be taken.
We will start training programs based on the environment regulations that we are enforcing.
Kenyans are, however, being called upon to exercise personal responsibility and cease the habit of complaining about poor environment that they themselves contribute to. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Well, we're going to take our first break, but when we come back, I will be telling you about the EAC Business Summit and how it will benefit you. That and more coming up shortly.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial *570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial *570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above.
Cheza Loto Moto. From the 4th to 6th of September 2023, Kenya will host a climate summit like no other, the Africa Climate Summit. An ambitious call for collective climate action at scale convened by the African Union. Wondering what sets this summit apart? The Africa Climate Summit moves away from the blame game in tackling the urgent climate crisis, rethinks global climate finance structures, unites Africa with the rest of the world to drive climate-positive growth, increase investments and maximize opportunities for climate solutions. The summit leverages the continent's immense human and natural capital for global decarbonization.
As Africa, we are committed to bringing everyone on board in order to make every voice to be heard.
Africa Climate Summit, driving green growth and climate finance solutions for Africa and the world.
Welcome back. Now, Communication Workers Union wants Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Huduma, and Kenya National Highways Authority to pay the Postal Corporation of Kenya for the services it offered to them to enable it run its operations smoothly. The union's General Secretary Benson Okwara regrets that the corporation is struggling to carry out its operation due to lack of sufficient funds, and yet it is owed 1.1 billion shillings by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and says that these dues need to be paid as soon as possible.
The only person who can help us here is the head of state of this country, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto. I want to make a special plea to him to get out of his way and force the creditors of Postal Corporation of Kenya to pay the money. We are not asking money from the exchequer. Postal Corporation has done business with people in government, and they are owed millions of Kenya shillings, and they are not paying, and we struggling to pay salary while our members are expected to work.
The judiciary is embracing technology and harnessing its potential to ensure that justice is dispensed swiftly, transparently, and impartially. Speaking during the launch of the Olkolou Law Courts Complex at Nyandarua High Court, Nyandarua Environment Law Court and e-filing system, Chief Justice Martha Koome said Nyandarua is the 10th county to adopt the digital initiative as the judiciary extends access to justice beyond physical boundaries in the country.
Chief Justice Martha Koome said that e-filing coupled with virtual courts and the case tracking system forms a critical cog in the digitization agenda. She added that these technological advancements erode bureaucratic bottlenecks that have historically plagued the justice system.
Olkolou Law Courts will now serve as a beacon of justice, enabling easy access to adjudicative services, and our farmers, our teachers, our mothers, or even our children will not have to leave this community and go in an unfamiliar territory to seek justice.
Importantly, it is critical for any society's development that is adjudication and dispute resolution mechanism are accessible, available, and respected by all.
She said the judiciary is bridging the gap between them and the people by eliminating physical barriers, reducing the cost of seeking justice, and bringing services closer to people wherever they are.
Today, these journeys, which were not just geographical, but were long treks away from justice itself, filled with sacrifices of time, resources, and emotional well-being, are no more.
While lauding court annexed mediation and alternative justice systems as vital cogs in the justice machinery, she, however, cautioned that issues relating to defilement of children are criminal in nature and should be referred to the police and the courts.
Our goal is to put in place a judiciary that is truly owned by the people. We want to put in place a judiciary that listens. We want to put in place a judiciary that cares and that serves the people. A judiciary that is not an obstacle, so that when you come to the judiciary, you do not feel frustrated. You feel that you are being facilitated.
She also said courts are being transformed into trauma-informed sanctuaries for victims of sexual and gender-based violence cases. Beatrice Gatonyingetich, Prime Edition.
The spouse of Deputy President Pastor Dorcas Rigathi on Thursday interacted with students at the Tudor Day Secondary School and challenged them to work hard and avoid vices that may derail their success. Pastor Dorcas was in Mombasa County to open medical camps for drug addicts. This and other news in the County News Roundup.
Pastor Dorcas Rigathi called on the student to focus on their education and shun drugs and substance abuse. Meanwhile, the wrangles in Kiambu County between Governor Paul Kimani Wamatangi and the MCAs have now escalated.
Lakini hile kitu nimeshangaa leo ni ya kwamba governor mwenyewe ameleta DCI, ameleta polisi na ameamrisha ya kwamba hakuna MCA ataingia kwa hii kanisa ambayo anapatiana basari.
Still in Kiambu County, security agencies have been urged to extend the war on illicit brews beyond consumers.
So nataka kuhimiza wananchi vile wamesindi na wamekuwa kitusaidia kujua ni nani na nani wanahusika kwa hiyo biashara, wasichoke.
Wazazi mahali huko, hata kama mtoto wako anakunywa, na wewe relative, na wewe pastor, na wewe community leader, hawa watu usiwatupe, usiwashukie, usiwatupe na huko ije, wapede.
In Siaya County, the national government has said it is keen on completing stalled infrastructural projects.
Also, the government is actually the president who is spearheading the launching of these committees. We have been energized, we have been invigorated. What this means is that we see a lot of us inspecting, monitoring and evaluating these projects in the field and not in the offices.
Finally, community living in Kajiado South have been challenged to love one another and coexist peacefully for meaningful development.
Na upendo huo ningependa ienee, upendo huo uenee kila mahali, hata kwa serikali zetu, serikali kuu na wapinzani wao, opposition. Actually, jinsi makanisa yanavyoshikana kwa upendo, hivyo serikali ikishikana kwa upendo, nina uhakika tutasonga mbele.
Akida Kasim, Prime Edition.
Welcome back. It is now time for business. Lobby groups are clamoring for review of the Companies Act of the 2015 law to allow public access to beneficial ownership information that identifies true owners of companies. Currently, the information is only accessible to bodies involved in the investigation and tracking of illicit funds, a loophole that corrupt individuals use to divert public funds through proxies. The Institute of Economic Affairs says the move will enhance transparency and help curb corruption.
The Companies Act of 2015 limits access of beneficial ownership information to 5 authorities, including the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Kenya Revenue Authority, Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, and the Asset Recovery Authority. The Institute of Economic Affairs says the secrecy makes it difficult for authorities and law enforcers to track wire fraud and investigate corrupt practices. The Institute says there is a need to enhance transparency and openness in business ownership to combat corruption.
This is something that we're pushing through. We'll be looking forward to push through amendments in the law to ensure that transparency is enhanced and that the law allows for that to be entrenched and that access is guaranteed for anyone and everyone in Kenya and of course across board. Now that we're looking to move towards the AFCFTA, perhaps that's something else that we'll also be looking at going forward.
The economic lobby groups are calling for the harmonization of the provisions in the Data Protection Act of 2019 and the Companies Act of 2015, which advocate for the protection of personal data and enhancing transparency, respectively. This, they say, will make it easy to identify true owners of companies, thus easing the process of tracking illicit funds and undertaking open investigations of corruption cases.
Enforcement needs to be upped, and this is something we're also trying to push for. It's not, you need to have a dog that has tooth. So we have the dog, yes, but does it have tooth? So we're trying to entrench the perspective of the dog having the tooth, so that in as much as we have the law and the penalties, they can be imposed upon those entities that don't comply with the law. So yes.
EACC estimates that Kenya loses over 600 billion shillings annually to corruption. Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition.
Livestock industry players have urged the government to accelerate the call for fair financing in efforts aimed at mitigating climate change. Stakeholders say the upcoming Africa Climate Summit is a good opportunity for Kenya to foster collaborations with international partners, as Kenya will be hosting the continental event starting 4th to 6th of next month.
Attention now shifts to the Africa Climate Summit, which will give Kenya the opportunity to share various strategies the government has put in place to address climate change. Industry players in the sector say lack of adequate financing is a major hurdle facing climate change mitigation. Experts are urging the government to step up efforts of public investments and fiscal management to help promote climate-resilient infrastructure investments.
So we are calling for humane, sustainable and regenerative livestock production systems. That is what we are saying should be supported. We have massive land. Go to northeastern Kenya, you will see. What is the problem there is no water. The land there cannot sustain the animals and therefore we lose them. If we regenerate those lands, I am telling you, we will have food that we will not be afraid to consume because it will be good for us.
The industry players want the government to strengthen access to climate finance to bolster the climate resilience of the financial sector.
The over-reliance on funding of our development programs in Africa by external donors is not going to help us. Decision-making and financing have to be at the center of the conversations happening in Nairobi next week. And in that, we are asking our leaders to be the decision makers.
Kenya will host the inaugural Year's Africa Climate Summit from 4th to 6th of September, which will focus on the theme driving green growth and climate finance solutions for Africa and the world. Industry players in the livestock sector are now calling on the government to step up efforts aimed at mitigating climate change, as Kenya will be hosting the Africa Climate Summit at the Kenyatta International Convention Center next month. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
Well, the Climate Summit is going to be the biggest thing in Africa next week, and KBC right here will be your official channel. We will have all the events and action for you. Farmers in Kajiado County are learning a new technology called acrotics and techniques that involve using solar panels to shade crops, harvest rainwater and generate clean energy. Farmers say their trials show that the technology not only maximizes savings but also mitigates against climate change, especially for arid and semi-arid areas. Here is more on tonight's episode of Take One.
Under a radiantly scorching sun and clear skies punctuated only by distant wisps of clouds, we find Anne Watkins tending to her farm. She is one of the many Kenyans celebrating a new revolution in agri-based technology.
This is a new technology which saves on so much, and with the climate change, and especially with the solar production, I think with the solar it's free. We have to maximize to save again on climate change and basically to save on costs, especially in those arid and semi-arid areas.
The agrivoltaic system has thus far been used successfully in the United States and Germany, but Kenya and Africa are only just experiencing the project for the very first time. Several months of research by scientists from the University of Sheffield in the United Kingdom, World Agroforestry and Kajiado-based Latia Agro-Entrepreneurship Institute has yielded positive results for the project, now dubbed Harvesting the Sun Twice.
We had two plots. We have the control plot that is grown under the normal conditions. And what we were able to know is that after the analysis, we were able to get that the crops that were grown under the panels performed better. That is in terms of the quantity and the quality.
Agrivoltaic technology combines land dedicated to solar panels with land dedicated to agriculture to improve food security and create connectivity.
Over the last 15 years, over the last 20 to 30 years, all the players that have been in the agriculture ecosystem we have put the foundations for why agribusiness is viable for the continent. Most of the technologies that we are talking about, we know which technologies have a chance of success on the continent. What really now needs to be done is to connect the dots.
However, after the successful rollout in Kenya, another trial is being set up in neighboring Tanzania, the aim being to spread the technology across the continent. But farmers like Watkins say they still need help.
Being a capital-intensive project, the government maybe can put up policies in place when it comes to funding, maybe providing cheaper loans to farmers, and maybe organizing farmers into cooperatives, which may end up being a community project as a cooperative.
Even as the continent and the world gathers in Nairobi from the 4th to the 6th of September at the very first ever Africa Climate Summit to deliberate on the adaptation of climate change mitigation efforts, climate-smart technologies like agrivoltaics remain a source of hope to rural farmers in the face of a changing and challenging climate. Alanauko, Tech One.
Protectionism and non-trade barriers are hampering trade in the East African community. Private Sector Foundation Uganda Vice Chair Sarah Kagingo says protectionism is hindering regional integration and inter-African trade despite the ratification and implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Day one of the East African Community Business Summit in Uganda. As exhibitors showcase their wares, one thing is clear. Africa is on a trajectory to correct the trade imbalance that continues to haunt the continent. Despite various policies and proposals to deepen intra-Africa trade, the number has been stuck at around 12%, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. However, this number could be pushed to 60% or $3 trillion if countries were to adopt borderless market as championed by the Africa Continent Free Trade Area Agreement.
There is also a growing voice among the business community that perhaps it's about time to integrate by litigation to ensure that our leaders are held accountable for the protocols that they ratified, freedom of movement of goods, because whenever our products are blocked, the impact, the losses are very, very huge.
Sarah Kagino says there is need to allow implementation of alternative dispute resolution mechanism to streamline trade as well as collective promotion of the EAC region as a block investment destination backed by reliable investor information.
This African Community Treaty underscores the significance of an empowered private sector, reaffirming its role as a cornerstone for the community's prosperity.
This is a CFTA year, so we need to double our efforts, double our commitment in terms of accelerating the implementation of the CFTA.
The summit, dubbed Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment, aims at doubling intra-EAC trade from 12% to 24% within the next 5 years.
One thing is clear, especially from the private sector, that more needs to be done by governments to ensure that these states take advantage of this particular agreement to boost integration.
Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1 from Munyonyo, Uganda.
The 9th World Cooperation Industries Expo will be held in Istanbul, Turkey from the 17th to the 21st of September 2023. Join this exciting exhibition to grow your business, trade and network with various businesses all over the world. To register, call or WhatsApp this number.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial star 570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial star 570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stake zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Estaré contigo.
I was worried about you. How are you?
Honestly, not good.
Honestly, I've been thinking that before I give Danielle the money, we have to resolve the problems of the sawmill first. Danielle went to the sawmill early this morning because yesterday the strike broke out.
Danielle, that is Isabel's sweater. What are you doing with it?
No quiero enterarme que me hace.
This August on Magical Scenes.
A big number of wildlife migration than there before. It started on the 14th of July.
So I can tell you that the season is looking pretty good.
A combination of wildlife and cultural tourism.
Sasa ni culture yanaonyesha nguo ya Maasai.
Magical Scenes only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. Now, today we will be talking about trade between Turkey and Africa, and also look at trade between Kenya and also Turkey, because there is a conference that is coming up. 43 African nations will be taking part in that conference in Turkey. And in studio right here, I am joined by Lawrence Biamukama, the executive chairman of the Gotvet Africa Services. I hope I said your name right.
Yes.
I can tell that's Ugandan from the West. Okay, so I said it right. And also we have the president of the WCI Forum Turkey, that is Utku Ben-Gusu, who will be joining us online. So good to see you.
Thank you very much. Cynthia, how are you?
Now, let me start with you, Utku, and ask you a little bit about this upcoming conference. Tell us what it's going to be all about.
Cynthia, thank you very much. The great opportunity for us. You know, Turkish business world increased it to the interest to Africa. According to Turkish-Africa relationship, we can analyze the statistic. Now the trade volume over $45 billion, according to this year's statistic. And if you compare the 15 years ago, you can see that the rate is the rate of the trade volume between Turkish and Africa.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, it seems like we lost him there. And let me just come back to you, Lawrence. Why is there so much excitement about Africa, and why is this conference happening right now? It's not the first conference. We've been seeing heads of states in Russia and different countries where they're interested to do business with Africa. I'm told Utku is back with us. Yes, so we were talking about the conference.
Okay, I was talking about the Turkish-Africa trade volume, and according to statistics between before 15 years old, you can see the volume, the Turkey-Africa trade volume was the $5.4 billion. But now $45 billion is very good opportunity between Turkey and Africa. And now we are focusing on the small and medium enterprises of Turkey to discover Africa business opportunity. So we are invited to them to Africa to discover and to invest and to collaborate and discover the potential of business opportunity. And for now, Turkey is a big investor, big potential investor and big potential manufacturer country, and has a lot of experience for African trade people. According to industrial scale, you can see in the Turkey there are more than 391 industrial zones and approximately 70,000 factories working in Turkey. They manufacture and they export. And export statistic of Turkey, $225 billion to the world in 2023 years statistics. So Turkey has a lot of experience, and maybe if we can organize a business forum before 12 years, I think that if I can start a business forum between Turkish and African SMEs, we can find the best way to collaboration. Now, we are organizing 9th version of this organization. The organization name called World Cooperation Industries Forum, WCI Forum. And the forum target that is Africa is future, future is Africa. The theme is like that. And so Africa don't need aid, Africa need collaboration and invest. This is the theme of our forum. And I am inviting 450 Turkish people, Turkish companies from all cities of Turkey. We have 81 different cities, and they will come and try to meet new partners, potential partners from Africa. And we are waiting 1,500 people from all African countries, especially in Kenya. We are focusing minimum 100 people, 100 traders, because we know very well Kenya is a new hub to entrance to Africa, a new door for Turkish people. And now I am working for most of the Turkish exhibitors, and they wanted to know how is the Kenya market and how is Kenya business opportunity. How can, if they invest to Kenya, how can they enter the East Africa market? It's very important question. And now we are working on that, and we are very excited, and we are very happy to see African people again in Istanbul, because we believe that for the African people, for the African business people, Turkey is second home.
Yes, I can just hear the excitement right there as you are talking. For my viewers who are watching right here in Kenya, how will this forum benefit Kenyans?
So, before, until 14 years old, Turkey-Kenya trade volume has increased it 5 times. And approximately $250 million now. So we are expecting that if we can organize some business meeting between Kenyan and Turkish traders, we can find a lot of potential Turkish investors to Kenya to come to open new storage house, new manufacturing areas, to enter the East Africa market. And, Turkish directly investment to the Africa over $7 billion now. But most of the most of the investments are in Ethiopia, I know, in the East Africa. And yes. I think that Kenya is a new start for Turkish people, and they're talking to me about how is Kenya market, how can we enter the Kenya, because they know Kenya is very good, very big developed countries in Africa, and one of the big samples, big example of the good, strong economy and strong export rate according to the other African countries, and stable economy and good democracy, and people believe that, Turkish people believe that Kenya is a new investment hub, and we will focus on this theme during the exhibition, and we are waiting Kenyan business people to come to Turkey and find new partners to them, because we know Turkey offers a different way to African companies. The new model name is win-win strategy, and Turkey focus at the same time win. Turkish people wins, at the same time African people wins. And according to trade statistic, now Turkey has import more than $20 billion from Africa. And I know Kenya has a lot of products. They can send you, they can export to Turkey. It's a different way near the investment. Trade collaboration is the second window of this big business area. And maybe Kenyan exporters can come to Turkey and to find new importers and new business partners. It's very important second issue.
Mm-hmm. Let me come back to you here in studio, Lawrence.
Okay,
and we've
Cynthia.
just heard about what the conference is all about.
Yes.
Who are the people who are expected to attend? He's spoken about investors, but from what industries? And will there be government officials? Will there be serious business transaction that will actually happen at the conference?
Thank you very much, Cynthia, and really I want to thank KBC,
yes.
Because Kenya is watching.
Yes.
It's a big one,
yes. And we're the official media partners of the conference. Yes.
So I'm very happy. First of all, we have received a huge support from the Kenyan people, and the business people are all looking forward for this. And we have many sectors.
Yes.
So we have like people from mining sector, we have industrial sector, we have those in tourism and travel, because Turkey is one of the top 10 tourist destinations in the world.
Yes.
Actually, there's a place called Hagia Sophia Bazaar Market.
Yes.
Hagia Sophia is visited by over 500,000 people daily. Turkey is looking at reaching almost this year, the target is to reach 55 million tourists. So like for the people in tourism sector, this is very important. And then look at textile. Turkey is one of the top textile producers in the world.
Yes.
And like now in Kenya, we have like industrial and at the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, they are looking at textile. They have many directorates. Actually, this is a very, very big platform and a very big opportunity for Kenya to come in and benchmark, create partnerships in March. Who are there? And actually, I'm happy to say our Kenya embassy was there.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we didn't have many people from Kenya, and this is a big challenge. We had many people from French-speaking countries,
yes.
And this is actually why I'm here.
So there were the ones who are dominant, the French.
Exactly. They give you a platform to speak.
Yes.
Each country is given a platform to speak. We have head of government delegations.
Yes.
And of course, for government head of delegations, they are given time to speak on the country, represent officially the government, and there are many arrangements we have in place for all this.
Yes.
And what is actually more interesting is, this time around, we have negotiated all the African businesses who have been allocated spaces for exhibition.
Yes.
It's not just to come in, it is exhibition. And also for like Kenya right now, the trade, we want to change this narrative. We are looking at exporters, we are looking at people in the tourism sector. Let us go in and be able to negotiate. Let us have a surplus. We shouldn't be buying more from what we are getting from Turkey.
Yes.
This is what we are looking at in long term. So we have many countries are participating. Tanzania is coming in big number. Uganda is participating in big numbers. Let me just an example. You know, Kenya is a leader in the region.
Yes.
But you know, in March, some other countries in the region even had bigger numbers than Kenya.
Yes.
It's a big challenge.
So you're challenging Kenyans. You need more Kenyans. So for them to attend, perhaps maybe you can just tell them, because I saw on the website that it's still open for people who want to attend. Maybe you can tell them how they can reach out and be able to attend the conference.
Okay. So for all the people like in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Eldoret, in Nakuru, in Nairobi, you know, all the people are coming at Koinange Street, Pioneer. That's where Go to Vet Africa Safaris is. That's where we are registering all the people. And I will be giving the number where people can call. And we are really welcoming from all sectors, you know, education, consultancy, people are in medical and health. We see a lot of people coming from all over the world.
Yes.
Because Turkey is a big player in these sectors, even energy and light.
And what about manufacturing? That's one area where Turkey is really big. What lessons can Kenya learn?
Actually, you know, now the climate conference is coming
Yes.
in. And you know, sometimes when I'm in Nairobi, it's one thing which is a challenge.
Yes.
You know, like the matatos and the smoke. In Turkey, you see big trucks, big buses, but you never see any smoke.
Yeah.
This is where maybe the county assemblies and even the devolution, all the county assemblies need to come in and look at investment opportunities for the county assemblies.
Yes.
What areas are we looking at? What areas can we partner? You know, these are the things we are looking at for this 9th WCI conference. For all the people who want to come in, I can give the telephone they can look at. Our telephone number for Kenya is 074 52 74 669. I can just repeat.
Yes.
The number in Kenya, those who are interested in participating, is 074 52 74 669.
Yes.
And we are just at opposite GPO, and we are working very well with KEPSA. They are helping us. They are mobilizing the private sector and also looking at the ministry. The ministry will come on board and we are able to mobilize big, show leadership for sure on the continent. It's very, very important.
Yes. Let's just go back to Turkey, and I want to ask Utku, as Lawrence just mentioned, this is going to be the 9th conference. There have been 8 others. What are some of the benefits that have been seen coming out of those 8 other conferences that have been happening before?
Cynthia, I want to mention the 2 different industries. It's very important, especially first of all is textile. You know, the world is looking for an alternative way out of China for production. So we want to show Africa is the second way of the manufacturing of textile. It's very important. So, you know, Turkish companies has a lot of experience about manufacturing and export to all of the world. So we want to show the African shareholders and African partners how can we develop textile manufacturing in Africa. It's very important. And secondly, the agriculture. You know, for the agriculture, Turkish equipment and Turkish fertilizers for productivity in agriculture in Africa, it's very important for modern agriculture. And I think Africa is a new alternative for the world food chain. And we want to show people about that. For the African problems, inside problems of Africa, maybe Turkish construction industry can be a new key to solve problem, because we know very well the housing problems of Africa and new construction technologies and for the prefabricated technologies and speed manufacturing housing projects is very important. New technologies has a lot of experience in Turkey, and we want to show to partners of Africa. And secondly, we must, I think, develop new business alternatives for middle level of entrepreneurs and young people and women in Africa, business women in Africa, because the 3 different part of the business world of Africa is very important. We want to focus on young people and business movements and small and medium entrepreneurs. It's very important. If they can find a way in Africa, if they can find and invest in foods and partnership, I think that we will develop very good and quality way by Turkish technology and partnership to the Africa. This is the right way, I think that.
Yes.
And we are focusing on the in the WCI forum. We are looking for answers these typical questions, these typical problems. We are looking for solutions.
Yes.
Together.
Utku, let me just take you back to the question I'd asked earlier, just from the past conferences that we've had. How has Africa benefited from those conferences?
I want to give you some example about real results. For example, for the last year forum, before last year forum, I was in Mali. Although the political problems was the live in the Mali, I was there. I was organized a press meeting and to invite them. One agricultural company after the forum, after the March forum, one agricultural company decided to invest to Mali. Now they invest to Mali. They have a factory now, and they have a big storage house, and they have big machinery in the Mali, and they open an educational, agricultural educational course to give some experienced young farmers. And now a lot of Mali farmers find a lot of food and a lot of different way to growing up their technology. And according to this example, if we can organize a big Kenyan delegation from this amazing country, I think that a lot of Turkish people wants to open a new production area, a new investment area to the Kenya. Before last organization, a company from Trabzon city in the north of the Turkey, they don't know anything about Kenya, but after this organization, they open a Turkish storage house in Kenya. It's very important area. And an elevator company started to prepare themselves to invest in Kenya because of the market impressive to them. So, for these examples show us after the conference, after the forum, we will find a lot of different investors and a lot of different trade collaborators from Turkey to come to Kenya. And we will start to discover Kenya more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Utku, for talking to us, and for you, Lawrence. You seem to be so passionate about Kenyans attending this meeting. You haven't even spoken as much about Uganda.
No, because actually we are registering delegates in the whole region.
Yes.
And I would tell you, of course, Kenya is a leader in the region.
Yes.
And there is a lot of interest here. For example, you asked about the question, what happened even after.
Yes.
We got a delegation coming in Uganda after that March conference.
Yes.
And right now, we are lobbying to get WCI Forum East Africa. And you know, this is the center.
Yes.
So if we have a huge delegation, we have a case in Turkey.
Yes.
And for example, we have been having many companies. Right now, as we speak, we have many textile companies that are looking at appointing distributors, appointing partners from Africa, on the whole continent. Most of them are selling their products in the US, in Russia, in China, you know, but they don't have a big market in Africa. So this is a very big opportunity for the business people to come in from agriculture, from mining, from all these sectors, even construction.
Yes.
It's a huge, huge sector. And this is where the people have been sending us emails, they have been asking, you know, have been asking a lot of questions. So the people who want to really know more, We
you
are
can
the ones
even
in
give them
Kenya.
their website, your website.
Our website is www.gotovet.co.ke. You can send us an email at info.gotovet.ke. And we are just at Koinange Street, opposite GPO. And we are the ones responsible. We'll help you to. We are working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Turkey.
Yes.
So we just take in your details. Want to see travel history? We're interested in business people. Yeah, it's very important.
Yes.
So we take in your information. We put you in the system. As soon as you're in the system, people all over the world start booking you for meetings.
Yes.
This is very important. It's not usual that you can easily find over 43 African countries because these are all the countries that have embassies in
So you have
Turkey.
access to a wider network of other business people.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Lawrence. And definitely, because we've had this story on KBC, you will definitely see many more Kenyans attending. I would like to also thank Utku Bengusu from Turkey. He is the president of the WCI Forum, and Lawrence right here in studio.
Thank you very much.
And
it's our pleasure.
Thank you. We'll definitely have the details of their website on our website, where it is still open for participants, and you can sign up on their website. Now, we're just going to take a short break. When we come back, we will continue with the business stories.
진짜 뭐지 그 여자? 다행히 나랑 도우가 없었고 KIS 아줌마들 덕분에 오늘은 그냥 넘어가긴 했지만 앞으로 조심해야 될 것 같아. 당분간 넌 여기 오지 마.
저를 붙여놨나? 왜 이렇게 안 떨어져?
없어. 혜린 씨가 없어.
뭐?
Swali alafu akujibu.
Swali gani?
Akikujibu na nitakuchapa sana.
Mbona wewe iko chapa mimi au wewe iko bwana yangu hata bwana yangu hapa niko shika mimi
wewe. Hii nayo utanyongwa. Hii watu.
Nyonga ni nini?
Afisa wa polisi?
Nyonga ni nini?
Kunyongwa.
Oh, mama, you got threatened me in live court over here. People you have seen witnesses, you got threatened me. Mdomo una sellotape wewe. Maana usiki.
So what is your problem you to bring me here?
Mimi alileta wewe hapa sababu wewe ni mhusika mkuu wa wizi ya meters.
Pipi yangu ni nani?
Sisi Sonita.
Uliambiwa huyu ni pipi yangu?
Wewe mwenyewe ndio ulisema kwamba Sonita ni bibi yako.
Mokana anje bamulanga.
Wewe. Lakini umama.
Welcome back. Maize farmers are set to receive 4 high-yielding seed varieties for planting in the coming long rains. The Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization Director General Eliud Kirega says the new technology will reduce seed development and multiplication costs by almost half, reducing the cost of maize seeds in the country.
Kenya maize imports value last year increased by 79.7% to 24.7 billion shillings after the country imported 794 tons of maize. Last year's maize import was the highest since 2017 as the country grappled with 5 consecutive failed rain seasons. Reduced maize production is also blamed on the high cost of seed development, which has curtailed research on maize seed varieties that can withstand harsh climatic conditions and low seed multiplication. The Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization says it is planning to release 4 hybrid maize varieties to seed companies that are cheap and easy to multiply.
Mechanisms naturally in science which protects inbreeding and enhances crossbreeding. So the ability not to produce pollen is to inhibit it from self-pollination and encourage pollen from other plants, because that increases the hybrid vigor and the quality. So it's the science that we have tapped to produce this technology.
The seed, the quality of seed is that we are very sure that the seed is pure seed. There are no mixtures. Yes.
The 4 maize seed varieties are expected to reduce the cost of seed production from the current average of 70,000 shillings per acre to 40,000, further reducing the cost of maize seeds.
Very few small companies are able to produce quality seed because of the cost. So this technology can enable those small companies to be able to, afford to be able to produce quality seed.
The seeds developed under the Seed Production Technology for Africa eliminates the need for detasseling, hence reducing the cost used in carrying out this exercise.
Is that the cost of detasseling is going to go down, because the maize itself that we're targeting is that we are targeting on the production of the parents that are not supposed to produce the pollen grains on the tassel.
Calro predicts a bumper short rains maize harvest due to low cases of maize diseases in the country's maize belt.
We have had very good rains. Also, weak plants succumb to diseases and pests. You remember the fertilizer was subsidized. Farmers actually used fertilizer. So when the plants are growing, they're strong. So hata kama kuna ugonjwa kidogo, it really does not affect them much.
Kenya may opt to issue Eurobond, or a long-term bond, to refinance next year's maturity of a $2 billion 10-year Eurobond. The Institute of Public Finance Managing Director James Muraguri says through Kenya will not face a debt default. The cost of refinancing will be high, posing a potential social contracts crisis. He was speaking at the African Conference on Debt and Development in Dakar, Senegal.
Kenya's $2 billion 10-year Eurobond matures in June 2024. This will likely exert pressure on the economy from a debt redemption standpoint. Speaking at the African Conference on Debt and Development in Dakar, Senegal, the Institute of Public Finance CEO James Muraguri says Kenya will issue a long-term bond to repay the Eurobond. However, the cost of refinancing will be high, affecting critical sectors like health and education.
And this would potentially be because the Eurobond is primarily financed from foreign currency, and we suffer from a foreign currency risk. I mean, the president has been very clear. He said we are not going to default on any debt. What we are going to do is we are going to be paying on salaries and those things. But also, what does that mean? It means we might default on paying substantial resources for our health sector, our agriculture sector. That is what would be foregone.
Experts and policymakers are advocating for a standardized debt agreement for the African continent that will be used to provide a uniform consensus for the African governments to improve their capacity to effectively influence the outcome of a grant or loan agreements during negotiations and contractual processes.
I don't think it would be an option, because we are also coming from different perspectives and different angles. Remember, in Africa, there are countries that are heavily mineral dependent. For example, other countries, like Angola. Then you come to Kenya, which is service dependent. So, if you're saying that we are standardizing contracts and how loans are procured, that could be a challenge. But also, we need a harmonized approach.
The experts are also advocating for a fair and transparent debt framework that provides timely and effective restructuring, incorporating environmental, human rights, and development concerns.
High time for Africa as a continent. We push the conversation on legal reforms, the international financial architecture reforms, so that we can benefit equally across the world.
As the African Conference on Debt and Development enters day 2, experts are calling for reforms on loan agreements to protect borrowers, and also for African ministers to speak in one voice as they get the continent out of this debt crisis. Brimu Jenga from Dakar in Senegal.
My director tells me it's now time for sports with Bernard Okumu. But before I leave, I have to tell you this story on the hot air balloon safari in Kenya, and that is a one-of-a-kind experience. Guests take off at dawn and float in whichever direction the morning wind takes them as they pan their eyes across the panoramic plains to discover the best of Kenya's offer in wildlife tourism. Tonight, on Magical Scenes, Irene Muchuma Odim shares an air balloon safari experience in the Mara Triangle in Narok County.
A hot air balloon safari is something to yearn for as long as you don't have a phobia of heights. This is the Mara Triangle, a destination adjacent to the Masai Mara National Reserve, and is also known for rich wildlife and vegetation besides the wildebeest migration spectacle. More than 1 million wildebeest have crossed the Mara River from varied points into the Masai Mara National Reserve from Tanzania's Serengeti National Park. Nevertheless, this team of visitors was at the Mara Triangle for a magical sky experience at dawn. The captain of the hot air balloon issues a brief to the passengers.
You have to look straight, lean back. This is the correct position, okay?
He talks to them about the expectations and challenges they may encounter up the skies. This is done as early as 5 a.m. Thereafter, you can serve yourself a hot drink depending on your choice ahead of the intended safari. It is one of the experiences at the Mara, outstanding experience, one that I'm doing for the first time with lots of expectations. Out of curiosity, you may wonder why is the hot air balloon safari encouraged to take place in the early morning? Well, this is because the balloon movement is dependent on the weather, and this would also serve well for any tourist interested in capturing the sunrise glow in the distant horizon. The passengers sail above the wildlife habitat. This is a beautiful experience to witness the intricacies of the Mara ecosystem and the harmonious coexistence of the vibrant flora and fascinating fauna. This would be a lifetime experience to appreciate the spectacular magnificence of wild Africa. The hot air balloon flight lasts approximately an hour and a half and is followed by breakfast at the location of the landing. And to understand the ticketing of the balloon air safari, meet Justin Emunyi of the Skyship.
Talk about those registration to the guests, they will not understand. So we normally use these cards, which are called boarding cards. If you can have a look at this card, this one, it is a rhino. It has got a rhino, a picture of a rhino. Different to this other one, which has got a picture of a lion. So when they come in the morning, we put them in different groups, and one group will give it a rhino, an elephant, or even a crocodile. We've got some others. So, and we'll call that group a crocodile or a lion. So when the pilot is going to fly, he will say, all my crocodiles to come here, all my lions to come here, all my elephants to come here. And it will be very easy for them to be classified.
Justin goes further to explain how the captain of the hot air balloon knows of his landing spot even before he takes off.
These are called pie balloons. They are used by the pilot to know the direction of the wind. Yeah. Now, I'll release one of them. It's filled up with helium. Helium is a very light balloon, so when I release it, it will be taken up by helium. And have a look.
said and done, a hot air balloon safari offer is available during both the high season in the tourism calendar as well as the low season.
We are situated on the Mana Triangle, which is is not heavily congested. We have a few lodges and camps, but you get to see everything. It is very easy to get the big five in a day. Not that they are like somewhere, but it's easy to get that, unlike the Greater Mara.
Erin Mchuma Odem, magical scenes at the Mara Triangle in the county of Narok.
Shamsa mke wa Zito. Zito linambia kuwa hana mke, mimi sitaki kujua.
Kiza jamaa. Shamsa is my wife. Achana naye. Sawa.
Zito. Kufa kuzikana.
Zuri. Zuri.
Estaré contigo.
I was worried about you. How are you?
Honestly, not good.
Honestly, I've been thinking that before I give Danielle the money, we have to resolve the problems of the sawmill first. Danielle went to the sawmill early this morning because yesterday the strike broke out.
Danielle, that is Isabel's sweater. What are you doing with it?
No quiero enterarme que me hace.
And a very good evening and welcome to Prime Edition Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu. Let's begin with athletics, where Commonwealth Games champion Ferdinand Omanyala says he failed to perform to his expectations at the just ended World Athletics Championships in Budapest, Hungary, due to a technicality. Omanyala, who trained today at the Honved Athletics Training Ground in Budapest together with Hadla Weissman-Were, says he will be taking part in 3 competitions, including Diamond League finals in Oregon next month before concluding his season.
Omanyala, who qualified for the 100 meters finals at the Budapest World Athletics Championships, is planning to conclude his season in style by participating in 3 meetings, including the Diamond League finals in Oregon, United States, on the 16th of September.
Me ilikuwa blessing kufika final. Of course, expectations zangu zilikuwa better than what I achieved on that day. But of course, tunajua what went wrong, and now just going back na to make sure everything is corrected before the Olympic Games next year.
He will take part in the Gala Castelli meeting in Switzerland on Monday next week, then move to Zagreb, Croatia for another event on the 10th of September.
I'm trying to take it low na kumaliza season because imekuwa a long season since Feb. So niko na 3 or 4 moja confirmed races that we are looking forward to. Of course, preparations need towards that finals of the Diamond League that's happening in Oregon. So that's the main one, the last one for me this season. And then after that, I'll take like a 6-week break, and then now start preparing for the Olympic Games for next year.
He says he has set his eyes on winning a gold medal at the next year's Olympic Games in Paris, France.
Yeah, the World Championships was a tough one for Ferdinand.
His semi-final, in fact, his heats went really, really well. He was responsive. His start was incredible. His start is one of his strengths, as you know, and we were excited. And then the next day, it was almost like someone pulled a plug, and it wasn't there. These things do happen, but you don't like it when they happen, and you don't like it when they happen on the international stage as big as the global championships like the World Champs.
Meanwhile, Commonwealth Games bronze medalist Wiseman Were will also take part in the Gala Castelli in Switzerland on Monday.
We have a race on 4th. That's on Monday in Switzerland, because I'm going to take that race as part of making Olympic qualification, because I know I have it, so it's just about perfection and also to improve on my time.
He says he was happy to have qualified for the global event in Budapest after missing out in last year's event in Oregon.
And for Kenya Broadcasting, they're doing a good job, because they are here to cover and show the Kenyans back who like watching KBC, because it's a channel that brings what happens on the ground in sport.
Kennedy Langat, KBC Sports, Budapest, Hungary.
Well done, Kennedy Langat in Budapest. And to some other good news for Kenyan football now, where Football Kenya Federation on Thursday unveiled Tanzania's pay TV Azam TV as the broadcast partner for the FKF Premier League in a 7-year deal. Azam plans to invest approximately 145 million shillings in the first season with a 10% annual increment.
According to Azam TV Chief Operations Officer Yaya Mohammed, Azam Media will air 4 matches in every round on their pay TV and digital platforms.
Kwetu imekuwa ni shauku ya muda mrefu sana kwa kweli, kuona wadau wa michezo na sekta ya michezo inaimarika na kuendelea kutoa ajira moja kwa moja na zile za ziada ambazo zote kwa ujumla wake zina manufaa mapana kwa jamii yetu ya Wakenya.
Mohammed also noted that the company is committed to delivering the best viewing experiences to Kenyan sports lovers.
Kama yalikuwa mapungufu machache ambayo wao hawakuweza kutekeleza vizuri kuifanya ligi kuwa bora, sisi tutakwenda kujazia pale ili basi mpira wetu wa Kenya uweze kusonga mbele.
FKF President Nick Mwendwa expressed his gratitude to Azam Media for dedicating resources towards the development of the league and Kenyan football at large.
Miaka 3 inayokuja mtakwenda kuambia, mmeangalia, muona Kenya. Miaka 3 peke yake sasa. Hivyo ndio mtafanya. Kwa sababu tuko tayari. Na nyinyi unajua mnapenda mambo ya vishasha sana pale. Sisi hapa Kenya kuna watu hata waoni mpira. Lakini hapo kwa mtandao utawapata.
Mwendwa, however, did not disclose how much each club is set to earn from the deal, but said they will do so in the coming weeks.
Kuna mambo hatujamaliza, tunaanza. So clubs nafikiri juzi niliwaelezea. Kuna tangazo lingine moja tunangojea, tujaweza kumaliza. So leo sitasema club zitapata ngapi.
Azam worked on a trial broadcast with FKF last season, broadcasting the Mashemeji Derby, pitting Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards, as well as the match between Tusker FC and Kariobangi Sharks. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
And to golf, where the penultimate qualifier leg of the 2023 NCBA Golf Series is scheduled to take place this Saturday at the Great Rift Valley Lodge and Golf Resort. Over 100 golfers are scheduled to tee off at the resort's challenging 18-hole course for a chance to qualify to play in the series grand finale, which will be held in November at Sigona Golf Club. The event will be the 13th edition in the series, where winners will be fitted in various categories, including overall grossmen, women and junior categories. Speaking ahead of the tournament, NCBA Group Managing Director John Gashora says they expect an exciting competition for both participants and spectators. The leg follows the recent event, which was held at the Kitale Golf Club on August 19th, drawing participation of 84 golfers. And the national men's volleyball team will leave the country tonight ahead of the African Nations Championship set to serve off on 1st to 14th of September in Egypt. Now, the Kenyan Chargers held their final training session today at the Kasarani Indoor Gymnasium. Kenya will be under the tutelage of head coach Gideon Tarus, assisted by David Lungaho, Sami Mulinge, Elisha Aliwa, and Sami Kirongo. Agri Kibungei, Brian Kamonde, and Bernard Waichuli are expected to make their debut at the continental assignment. Foreign-based players Abiud Chirchir, Captain Enoch Mogeni, and Dennis Omolo are also in the traveling contingent. Kenya finished 9th overall in the 2021 edition of the championship held in Rwanda. Across the borders to tennis now, where Caroline Wozniacki beat Petra Kvitova 7-5, 7-6 to advance to the US Open third round. Defending champion Iga Swiatek beat Australian Daria Saville 6-3, 6-4, while 19-year-old American Coco Gauff won 6-3, 6-2 against Russian teenager Mira Andreeva. Well, that does it for Prime Edition Sports today. Back to Cynthia Nyamai.
Thank you so much for all the sporting action. Now, I do have a message coming here from Oscar Ken in Wundani, who says that he really did enjoy the hot air balloon and it's an experience he would love to have. And also, Wanjiro Kimani says she is interested in the trade between Turkey and Kenya. And as you had our guest say today, there's a lot of interest in Africa. KBC is here to tell you about all the opportunities for you. It is up to you to continue watching and to take up those opportunities. From me and the rest of the team, we do want to wish you a very good night and a restful one.
Mjisqueeze hapo watano kusqueeze. Hapana. Maybe excess. Nini wewe shughulika na steering, mimi niko huko nyuma na watu. Mnavuja sheria bwana. Tutashikwa na makarao. Mimi sitaki noma na polisi. Si overdo na ku risk life yao wase. Hapana. Anyewe for once umebonga sense. Leo umebonga kama dere smart.
Usalama barabarani ni jukumu letu sote. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na the European Union.
The 9th World Cooperation Industries Expo will be held in Istanbul, Turkey from the 17th to the 21st of September 2023. Join this exciting exhibition to grow your business, trade and network with various businesses all over the world.